Welcome to Superside. This is the Sidecar World Championship coming to you from Valencia in Spain. The Ricardo Tormo circuit on the east coast of Spain. We're looking for a great sidecar race today. We have a lot of changes to talk about and a few people in the crowd getting into it today. We have a lot of sidecar fans come down from England to see Webster regain the title. We have Abbott. It's going to be great. Norman Burgess, can I bring you in?
Yeah, there. Hi, Rob. I'm looking forward to this one. Number one, Steve Abbott, going to be chasing the 8 times world champion Steve Webster. Yes, I think we're going to see some action today.
The schedule for this year is looking fairly packed. This round is a week earlier than last year in Valencia, a little bit colder. We'll get onto that. Monza, always a fast track. And then almost the same as last year with the Silverstone, Mazzano, Brands Hatch and Magny Cours. New for this year, a lot of change this year. We'll see how we're going to go. 4.005 kilometres, the Ricardo Tormo circuit at Valencia. Webster and Woodhead took the win last year, took the lap record last year, but of course had that engine failure with a few laps to go. Abbott and Biggs started off their championship winning season.
Yes, give Steve Abbott the world championship, and Abbott has been looking for the world championship now for about 20 years.
Weather has, it says fine, but the clouds have come over in the last half hour. Humidity at 34%, track temperature 24, and the air temperature dropping down to 20.
Yeah, the track temperature at 24 degrees. I don't think that'll cause any tyre problems, but the circuit is very demanding on tyres, and yes, it'll be interesting to see what compounds and how the tyres are going to stand up to this one, the first one of the year.
Of course, tyres are an issue that relates to the engine. Webster and Woodhead first, they're on the pole. They're consistently on poles for at least the last year. Very, very good. Hanks and Biggs in second. Abbott, the world champion, new world champion in third. Fourth place, Steinhausen Hopkinson, again with new Suzukis. Klaffenbach and Partzer, no track time before the season for them. So Claffy's just pulled the bike out the box and come down here. Very unusual for him. Skeen and Miller in sixth, from Rocha in seventh. Van Gils doing very, very well on another untested machine in eighth place. Rob Fisher, 10 times Isle of Man TT winner in ninth. Philp and Yendel and Lovelock and Holloway for 11th. Doppler and Wagner, Morrissey and Harper. Morrissey actually the fastest, or second fastest in top speed, but down 13th place. 14th, 15th and 16th, we have Founds, Hendry and Halsey. Andy Peach, new to driving this season from passengering, he's qualified in 17th place from Menge, the Frenchman. Pedder and Fleury rounding out the grid. So 20 machines have qualified for the race. We did have one that didn't qualify, but track time, setting the engines up, has been such an issue. What I'll do is just change the tack here a bit, engines and rules. We're going to have to get into them, Norman.
Yes, and the engines that we're going to see mainly this year are going to be the GSXR 1000 and the i1 Yamaha.
Yes, well, engines have been a change. Tom Hanks, they're staying with the 1000cc Yamaha that he had last year. He tried to develop a bigger one last year, but the rule changes this year say 1000cc's. We'll just check, we've got Ian Guy with us. Ian Guy, who has raced these things for over 20 years, he's going to be talking to someone on the grid. Ian Guy, have you got anyone?
Yeah, hi Rob. I'm down here on the grid with the defending world champion Steve Abbott, who's qualified in third place. Steve, new chassis, new engine, third place on the grid. Are you confident?
I wouldn't say I'm confident. I think we're at a little bit of a disadvantage because it's a new, like you say, a new chassis, new engine, and it's the first time we've ridden it really. So I'm surprised to be quite as far up the grid really.
Have a good race, Steve.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, Steve, not his usual confident self there. Last year he had a Yamaha, a combination of FZR, YZF 1000s with the X-Up motors. This year he's got, because of the rule changes, he's running a Suzuki 1000 with the dry sump on it.
Yeah, the problem this year about anything else, Rob, is that lots of these competitors, this is actually the first time they've ridden the bike. They haven't had very little or no testing. To come to a Grand Prix, race a machine, he's actually changed his chassis as well, which is a rather dramatic move, is to switch from one chassis manufacturer to another. And yes, Abbott's done that, and he's qualified third row of the grid. I don't think he should be too unhappy with that.
Yes, there's Jock Skeen and Neil Miller. The Scottish, they've had a great 6th qualifying, and they'll be looking forward to a good race. Jock Skeen actually led the race at Oschersleben as a wild card last year. Very exciting race that was.
Yeah, Jack, he was actually stopped before he could get to the victory line. But yes, a very...
Yes, Steinhausen in pit lane. Steinhausen, this is news. Steinhausen and Hopkinson, final qualifying today, they blew up an engine. So they've spent the afternoon creating another engine from their spare engine that they had just in the back of the truck. Didn't expect any engine problems with the new Suzuki GSX-R 1000, but they have had problems, and good to know he is also running one of the dry sumps.
Yes, what I think the problem was that he'd had a Conrod brake, and obviously that went through the case, and he's had to fabricate one engine from 2 scrap ones, and he's done that. They've been working flat out all day today to get the engine ready, and unfortunately he's got to start from the pit lane. That is a rule, but I don't think young Mr. Steinhausen will have a problem with that.
Tony Van Gils there, they are smiling. They've got brand new chassis, brand new engine, like a couple of other people, brand new truck, kitted out. They've been working night and day for the last few months to get down here, and he was saying Martin was a little bit rough in qualifying, but the lighter motor will change the handling characteristics. Tony will be all right, though.
Yeah, Tony will be okay. They've had last season was an up and down season, and I'm really, literally mean up and down. 1 minute they were upside down, the next minute they were doing very well, and they've had a difficult last season, but this season they've got everything new, got everything back together again, and they're looking fairly well in qualifying. Again, they have been on the machine for the first time.
Let's see if Ian can just grab Andy Peach before the start of the race here.
Yeah, Rob, I'm here with Andy. He's ready for the start with his crash helmet on, so you might not hear him very well. But Andy, your first World Championship race as a driver after years of passengering. How are you feeling at this time?
Very nervous. It's been a few years since I've been like this, but I just want to finish. If I can finish, I'll be happy. That's the main thing.
Have a good ride, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Yes, well, there is a bit of news from the paddock. Andy Peach, passengers for over 20 years, changes his mind at the end of last year and has worked all winter to get this machine together, to get his team together, and to get onto the grid. What a great achievement to qualify in his first race, and I'm sure we'll see him on the podium in years to come.
You'll find that a rule of thumb with the Sidecar passengers coming into the driving scheme of things is that generally the passenger makes an exceedingly good driver.
Is that what happened with you there, Norman?
Yeah, thanks about that, Rob. But yes, you generally do find that the passenger will learn the tricks of the trade from the side and then get into the driving position, and you find that they do very well.
Well, it is such a team sport. There is so much input between the two people that make these three-wheeled machines go around. There's so much input from the passenger, has to give back on things like suspension, gear changes, where the braking points are, when to move. It really is a team sport.
If you stand on the sideline and listen to the passenger making the comments to the driver, you would think he was being critical. But you find that the top teams, Steve Webster, Steve Abbott, Tom Hanks, they all listen to the passengers because they've always got a very important input into the overall scheme of things.
Yes, Webster there in the changed livery for this year on his own team. Different from the live on screen of last year. He's on his own this year, back with Paul Woodhead.
Yeah, you'll see there Steve Webster running in the Castrol colours. Now Steve basically has replaced Colin Edwards on the Grand Prix scene or the World Superbike scene, because obviously Castrol Honda have now left the scene, and they've invested in Steve Webster.
Excellent. Well, that's great for sidecar racing. The warm-up lap is underway. We'll get there in a sec, but let's run through a few more of the changes that we've had. Obviously, the rule changes. The 1000cc limit, although there is a one-year trial period just to for the teams that had the larger engines and want to keep running them, they must take them back to original bore. So there are two teams out there, that's Lovelock and Hendry, that will be running the Suzuki 10. Oh, I'm just going to check on the stats there. The 1100cc, basically 1075cc.
1075cc, Rob. Yeah, and what they've actually got to do, they've actually got to use the cc that the manufacturer manufactured the engine with. It's got to be 1000cc, or actually the 1070cc, which was a manufacturer's limit when they manufactured it.
Yes, so that's one of the rules. The second one is these engines must all be running starter motors. A change, the rules come from the FIM. We don't know what's going to happen with it, whether it's going to work or not. This is the first time we'll see. And yes, starter motors, the machines must be started on the starter motor. So another controversial rule.
Yes, because the problem with the starter motor rule is that the machine has got to be able to start on the line when it's cold, and then it's also got to be able to start at the end of the race. Now, some of these engines are running exceedingly hot, and everybody knows that a very hot engine is a very difficult piece of machinery to start up, and it's going to be interesting to see how long this rule actually survives.
Yes, well, a bit of controversy there for the start of the season. Also, a week earlier, we've had a lot of rain, but it dried up for the weekend. Other things that are happening, Klaffenbach. He's not Team Klaffenbach anymore. It is Team Ready Mix Racing, and he is partnered with Andy Peach. How about that for controversy?
Yes, because there you've got a very experienced ex-world champion in the team, and Andy Peach, the new boy on the block, basically. And I'm sure that the idea of all this is that Andy will pick up a lot of information, a lot of experience from Klaus.
Klaus was saying to me earlier that he hasn't had any preparation for the sidecar. He's running a Honda Supersport team, so he hasn't had any time. Also, minus 15 degrees in Austria when he wanted to go testing, so not good for a sidecar.
No, he's had a difficult start to the season. Generally, Klaus is one of the better prepared competitors, and this season they're running a 600 team. I really haven't got my head around the fact that he's running a 600 Supersport team yet, but as ex-world champion, still very keen to regain the championship again, but he's setting off this season very much Klaus Klaffenbach unprepared.
Yes, well, he said that the machine has been almost unchanged from Imola, just a few changes to things like batteries and the essentials, but the same engine, but they're developing the new fuel-injected R1 for probably Monza.
The race is going to be off in a minute, Rob, and I'm really looking forward to this one. The qualifying was so close, and I think everybody's now catching up with Steve Webster, and I think we're going to see a very hot first lap.
Yes, well, Webster there at the front of the grid, Abbott with the LCR rather than the Windle next to him, just behind him there. Hanks with the Windle, same as last year. They're using this one to see what happens. Ready for a start now. The lights are up there. What's going to happen in 2003 sidecars? Wello gets off the line well. Claffey smokes it there. There's a gaggle of riders off the line. A bit of confusion as they sort themselves out, and heading into the first corner, it is Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead. Hanks in second, Klaffenbach third, and Jörg Steinhausen made it out there. He's in fourth place. Bill Philp in fifth place. So everyone looks to have gotten through smoothly. Oh, Jock Skeen up the inside, 3 wide into turn 2.
Yeah, this is it, the first lap of sidecar racing, and you can expect the ins and outs, under, over. They'll get anywhere they can. They'll get past each of the nice gentlemen in front.
Yes, well, Steve Webster, 2 turns, he's pulled a bit of a gap already, but there looks to be a bit of a stretching out there. Jock Skeen definitely made the move there through on Rocha with Haney in the chair this year. Another interesting team.
Yeah, Adolf Haney actually runs the team. He owns the machine, and he always imports a driver, and this year he's brought Rocha back, and it's going to be interesting to see how they go on this season.
Of course, Rocha last year running the closer chassis rather than an LCR or a Windle, so going back to Haney's LCR, which he will have some experience with.
Steve Webster's up to his old tricks already. First hot lap and away he goes, and yes, it could be a problem there, you know, with Steve Webster looking behind it. That's very unusual to see Steve take such a long look behind him on the first lap.
Hanks with his untidy style, as we like to say, in second place there. Yeah, Klaus Klaffenbach is definitely gaining on him. He's doing very well, the lead team Ready Mix Racing.
Yeah, you'll see Steve Webster there. Unusual for Steve to look up behind him like that, but he's got Tom Hanks. Klaus Klaffenbach in third place. Klaus now making a look on the inside.
Claffey into second place. Hanks was saying he's down a little bit on top speed, and there we see it down the straight. Only 2 kilometres difference through the speed trap.
Yes, you saw there Klaffenbach using an extremely good streamlining manoeuvre. get behind Tom Hanks, have a look on the inside, move on to the inside, using Tom Hanks as the windbreak.
Oh no, Steinhausen's out. Number 2, Steinhausen has retired. This is not a good start for Steinhausen. Finished equal on points for the World Championship last year. Steve Abbott won the World Championship only on race wins, and this is not the way to attack the title chase.
No, disappointment for Jorg, I'm sure. He's had technical problems all weekend, and I've got to say, Rob, this is all down to track time, practicing, getting the machine absolutely right for the first race, and unfortunately Jorg has come to this one, and this is basically the first time he's been out on the machine.
Yes, Jorg, a totally new setup, new chassis, new engines, even a new bus to come down here, which is very nice, but unfortunately it hasn't paid off with results on the track.
Looking at Tom Hanks there, Rob, he's up to his old Formula 2 tricks again, sending the machine sideways. I don't know whether we can say that this is a lack of experience, but he's having a look on the inside now of Klaus Klaffenbach.
Webster seems to have slowed there, and Claffey's right over him there on the number 3 machine. Round the outside, looks Hanks, but can't do it under brakes.
No, I'm not convinced that Steve Webster, everything is rosy in Steve Webster's garden at the moment, because it looked like he was going to put a quick, hot first lap in, but Klaus Klaffenbach and Tom Hanks have caught him up again.
Oh, look at that, looks so good. What a jazzy paint scheme that is on the Webster machine.
Oh yeah, she looks beautiful in the Castrol colours. Yeah, and it's good to see that Castrol are not leaving the World Superbike in such dramatic styles, with Colin Edwards leaving the place. And they brought back Castrol with Steve Webster, which is perfect for sidecars.
Look at the acceleration as he came off of that left-hand corner there. Steve Webster laying a lot of rubber, and he seems to have pulled the pin again. I don't know what Webster's doing here, but it's definitely not part of a good tyre strategy.
No, I'll tell you what he's doing here. I think he took, as I said, he was going to do a hot lap. It looks like he's left it a couple of laps to warm the tyres up, and then do the hot lap on about lap 4.
Maybe he saw the change on the pit board there with Klaffenbach taking Hanks and closing up. He would have seen a +0 there as Claffey came around.
Yeah, well, obviously an experienced competitor.
That's the Van Gils, guys. Looks like there's a problem there. Actually, I don't see Tony there.
No, Tony's missing, I think. We'll just have to see where the camera trains back to. But yeah, Tony's definitely missing there.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay. They've just pushed Martin to the side, but yes, impossible to race without a passenger, and they do such a good job. Look at Phil Biggs there on the Tom Hanks machine. Ducking right down behind the guard, getting over for the left, putting the weight over the wheel to keep it from flying into the air.
Yeah, experienced passenger now, Phil, and he can dictate to Tom how the machine moves about the circuit.
Running through, Skeen in 4th place there, Bill Philp in 5th. That's great for him, because Bill Philp was a wild card at a couple of races last year. World champions Steve Abbott and Jamie Biggs have just gone past Philp there for 5th place.
Yeah, there you can see him now moving in on number 22, Rob Fisher.
Jock Skeen and Neil Miller there, distinctive striping. Bill Philp just behind, and Jock won't be taking this line down from the World Champions in front.
No, Jock has a taste for glory now after the Oschersleben meeting, and he did very well there, and obviously you can't give the world champion too much respect or you'll follow him all day.
Rob Fisher's just behind that pack, 10 times Isle of Man winner, followed by Rocha, Lovelock, Morrissey and Doppler. Chris Founds down there. Chris Founds, another story here. He has got Stuart Muldoon as a passenger. So we have driver changes, we have passenger changes. Stuart Muldoon, of course, with live on screen racing last year as a driver, with Chris Founds this year as a passenger.
Yeah, he's going to do all season with him and all. I thought this was going to be a one-off from Stuart, but gone from Grand Prix driver to Grand Prix passenger. And we've got exactly the opposite scenario with the other teams.
Well, it's great for the enthusiasm of Chris Founds, because Stuart Muldoon has been giving him a couple of pointers, and Chris has been giving Stuart a couple of pointers as well.
Yeah, it's all up and down at the moment. There we've got number 1, Steve Abbott in 5th place at the moment, but he'll now be chasing the flying Scot, Jock Skeen.
Yeah, it looks to be a bit of a battle there between the world champions and Jock Skeen. Jock Skeen very, very happy to qualify in 6th. as with a lot of people, everything's brand new and untried. They were very happy to have no problems whatsoever. Just get on the thing and ride.
After 4 laps, Rob, we'll just look at the top speeds there. And Klaus Kleffenbach on 248 kph as opposed to Steve Webster on 247, Abbott on 243 and Tom Hanks on 237. So you can see the top 3 or 4 are pretty even on top speed.
And Tom Hanks is trying his heart out there behind Klaus Kleffenbach. You could hear the squeal of the real wheel a minute ago, and Tom Hanks is getting a little bit out of control there. Well, out of control for most people. Tom seems to like it that way.
Yeah, Tom plays the old Formula 2 trick. When he was racing in the British Championship, Tom was all over the circuit. The only problem with the way, very exciting to watch him, and yes, he's leaving black lines everywhere, but inevitably it leaves you with tyre problems.
Klaus Kleffenbach and Christian Partzer. Christian relaxing on the machine there. He's such a great passenger, it looks like he's not trying very hard. But Christian back with Klaus again this year. They've teamed up, the Austrians, to put a fair dent in the championship hopes of anyone else. They're running the Yamaha R1 engine in a team where Andy Peach is running the Suzuki engine as well. So there's a bit of conflict there.
A little bit of conflict, but there's so much experience within the team that they'll know the engines. They'll know both the. There you can see the wheel lifting lightly on number 5, Tom Hanks's.
And I'd say that the camera guys won't be very happy with that. There goes one of their miniature cameras from the curb. Tom Hanks might be getting a bill in the mail for that one.
Yeah, that'll be from the rear end of the passenger and all, I think, Rob.
Yeah, so Phil Biggs might have a bruise camera-shaped on a certain part of his body this afternoon. Webster seems to have pulled a bit of a gap there, but Claffey's definitely on him, starting to lay a bit of rubber from the rear tyre there. Most of these guys will be running the Yokohama B rear tyre.
Yeah, I can see now that the world champion Steve Abbott has moved up into 4th place. Has overtaken Jock Skeen now. So now Abbott will have his eyes on Hanks.
Yes, and we're seeing some of the flames out of these machines now. Kleffenbach had a couple last year, but obviously the same engine. Hanks is showing a few this year. A little bit of a different state of tune for this track. Long straight down the front here, and some very tight corners. So maybe a bit of a carburation issue there.
Yeah, looking at the lap times, Steve Abbott's going to be struggling on his fastest lap is a 1:42.7. Tom Hanks is on a 1:42.8. So with 5 of the 18 laps gone, there's still a chance. Again with Tom Hanks using all his rubber.
We have a problem with Rob Fisher there. We just saw him go straight on. Rob Fisher, 10 times Isle of Man champion there with Rick Long, his long-time passenger, and they've just gone straight on, so they definitely have a problem. They have a new team there. There they are, getting up out of the machine.
But to see what the problem is there at the moment, Rob, but it's going to be a technical problem anyway.
Yes. There's Kleffenbach and Hanks going down the straight.
Looking into the background there, I can still see Steve Abbott. Abbott putting in a 1:42.8 this time. Tom Hanks getting dragged along, I think, a little bit with Klaus Kleffenbach, which will create a problem for the world champion. But he'll have him in his sights. He will have it. Look at Tom Hanks there again, sending the machine on the left-hand corner sideways.
Okay, let's just go down to Ian Guy. I think he's with the Abbott crew at the moment. Ian Guy, can we have an update?
Yeah, Rob, I've just left the Abbott pit. They're all obviously a bit concerned at the start where Abbott's left the start and now he's given himself a lot of work to do. But they're confident that he can get up into the top 3 by the end of this race.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Of course, Steve Abbott is known for having a bit of a slow start in these races. Occasionally he shocks himself and gets a good one, but yeah, as Ian's saying, the team are a little bit concerned that Steve put himself a little bit more behind the 8 ball than normal.
Traditionally, Abbott is a slow starter. I think he likes to let the tyres get warm and let the passenger get into everything, and yet towards the end of the race we'll keep our eyes on the lap times, and maybe we'll see a burst much later in, because it's of course only lap 6 of 18.
Yes, Tom Hanks, he is fiery when he rides, isn't he? Laying rubber and getting the thing out of shape. Phil Biggs does an excellent job to hang on to that machine. compare the two styles. We have the LCR Yamaha and the Windle Yamaha down the straight, with Christian Partzer with his head near the monocoque there. Phil Biggs putting his head across to the side. They both move out in unison for turn one. Chair wheels float through the air, and then it's tucking down again down the straight.
Yeah, looking at the leader, Steve Webster, now just over 5.5 seconds in front of Clappenbach, with Hanks in third, Habit fourth, Skeen fifth, and Felt sixth.
There he is, Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead. He'll be just rolling it on now, checking his pit board. I'd say 5 seconds is a gap that he'd like to maintain, not overstressing the engine. In fact, Steve said to me just before they went out there that some of the people are having problems with the over-revving of these new engines. They seem to be very, very free with the revs compared to what they were running last year, and some of the guys have been having a problem.
Yeah, what happens is, Rob, what do? They go into the corner, they're changing down, and what actually doing, they're not actually putting load onto the piston, so the piston is actually stretching the conrod, and this causes lots of the problems, because instead of using the brakes, you see Steve Webster, he'll not over-rev his engine going down the gearbox, he'll use the brakes as they should be used, and they generally, reliability for Steve Webster is not a problem.
Yeah, so we have had a couple of failures with engines over the weekend. A lot of people think that you can't over-rev an engine that has a rev limiter on it, because a rev limiter limits the revs, but the rev limiter only works on the way up. If you change down a gear, it will over-rev the engine.
Exactly, Rob. And another thing about that is, when they're using a rev limiter, as we do hear some of the competitors doing on the straight, under power, it sends the engine so out of balance.
Hanks, I'm just cutting over you there. Hanks has gone off on turn one there. Oh, look at a big slide there as he tries to keep it from burying itself.
Wow, that was spectacular. I mean, the problem is now that he's in the kitty litter, he's not going to get out because the machine has buried itself.
Yeah, Hanks, he's gone in too hard and he's hit Partzer or the back of the machine. We'll just try and pick it up. There you can see the rubber just next to the back wheel there. Hanks has gone in too hard and he's hit Klaus Klaffenbach.
This is Tom Hanks again, all action sideways. Tom will not give up.
Here's a replay. Look, he could do nothing about that. He had just left his braking a little bit too late, or Claffy might have braked a little bit early there. We'll have to get the interviews later on to find out just what happened. Yeah. Here's another view. Christian Partz's foot is right there in the back, and he has had problems with his ankle last year after he fell out. And oh, look at Phil Biggs, he's shattered there. Tom Hanks about to take the helmet off. That's not the way they wanted to start their year.
No, I'll tell you what that is, Rob. That is a racing accident. I mean, probably one competitor going into the corner slower and the other competitor going in quicker, but the slower man will probably leave the corner quicker. And it's just one of the racing accidents.
Yes, I think, Ian Guy, are you with the Houghton Fabrications team?
Yeah, Rob, I'm here with Brian Ditchfield of Houghton Fabrications. Brian, everything looked to be going really well there, and unfortunately Tom's gone off. You must be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in racing long enough to realise that these things happen. And if you don't try and get past anybody, you're never going to win one, are you? So you've got to accept the rough with the smooth.
Are you pleased with the way Tom's been pushing hard all weekend?
Considering we've got one of the slowest bikes here, he's driving brilliant, you know. And he's got to try it in the corners, obviously, because he hasn't got it on the straight. So fair play to him.
Bad luck at Monza.
Thanks, Ian. Yes, a dejected Brian Ditchfield there from Houghton Fabrications, but he knows what racing's all about. He's been in it long enough, and the same with the Hanks families and the Biggs families. They all know what it's about. Tom's just trying a bit hard out there, I think.
That puts the world champion into third place now, nearly 8 seconds behind Klaus Klaffenbach. But again, I'm going to predict that we're going to see Webster charging up through the field after about 12 or 13.
Well, Claffy may have a problem there at the moment. We're just trying to check on the back of the machine because he did a 44 last lap, obviously trying to work out what was happening with the machine. But let's see. Look at the understeer off the front end as they're coming onto the straight. Christian Partzer can't do anything about it, and the rear wheel comes off the ground and bounces. We can see the bounce on that tyre.
I'll tell you now, Rob, what's happened here. He's hit the back wheel of Klaus Klaffenbach. And what he's done is moved the controls, and this machine will be an absolute nightmare to drive now, because those wheels are set for the competitors as they personally prefer them. And I think that Klaus has got a problem here.
Yes, of course, the rear wheel. Let's see if it's tracking properly down the straight here. The rear wheel has so many adjustments. You can change the camber on it. You can change the toe-in of the rear wheel as well.
Rob, look at the lap time there. 1:42 for Webster, 1:43 for Claffey, 1:42 for Abbott.
Abbott in third place catching, but I think Klaus will be just taking stock of things. He actually did a faster lap that lap than the lap before, a 44 to a 43, so I think he probably just took stock of things in that lap, and he'll come back. He'll come back. I'm sure we'll see Claffey fighting off Abbott.
I think what he's done there is actually took a lap out to just feel the machine and check everything is right. Looking at his top speed, 248 kph as opposed to Webster's and Abbott's 242. There's not much of a problem with the machine, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, Webster and Woodhead there, a picture of consistency, lap after lap, doing the same lines. Woody taking his left hand off through the rights, just relaxing there, and just making sure they're going to go through the laps. Webster is very, very good at putting in the same line lap after lap.
So consistent with his lap time. Obviously, 9 times world champion. He's looking at the pit board. The pit crew are telling him exactly where he is on the circuit, as opposed to Klaus Klaffenbach. He's looking at a 10-second gap at the moment, and I'm sure that Steve Webster will drive accordingly.
Well, look at the attitude of that machine coming into the final turn. The wheel in the air, rubber laid off the rear wheel. I reckon we might see a lap record, or well, close enough to a lap record coming up in the next couple of laps from Steve Webster.
Yeah, well, the lap record is 1:39.8, and he's a 1:42.9 on at the moment. So quite a bit to do, Rob, and I think with a 10-second gap, maybe the ex-world champion will not put in such a quick lap.
Yes, well, that is the difference we're finding between these engines. Last year at Brands Hatch, Webster was so quick with the 1000cc engine in its first race, but at this track, the 1200cc engine of last year seems to have the legs. That's when he set the lap record.
Yes, maybe the circuit was designed for or the engine was designed for the circuit. You know, Steve Webster, he can set his machines up, and now that the new rules have come in and it's 1000cc, I don't think he has much of a choice now but to use the engine that he's got.
Yes, well, he said at Brands Hatch last year that it was more like the two-stroke he used to ride. He could really push it on the way into corners. Look at Paul Woodhead flying over the curbs there, the wheel right up there. That's no problem for Webster, though.
No, he'll know exactly what he's doing there.
And check the rubber off the rear tyre as he squirts it onto the straight.
Yes, so
Excellent
he's still driving the machine with a lot of attitude, and yes, Steve Webster will know exactly where he's at now. In fact, he's another 1.2 seconds in front from the previous lap, so he's still putting the quick laps in, but looking through now, but about 5 seconds behind Klaffenbach, and I would expect to see a chase now.
Fourth place, Bill Philp, talking to him just before the race, he said, "This year I'm going to be on the podium." Is it going to be at the first round?
Wow, that's a good, very brave statement to make. But Bill Philp in fourth, with Jock Skeen in fifth, Rocher, Lovelock, Morrissey, Doppler, and Chris Founds, with the last year's Grand Prix driver as passenger this year, in 10th place.
Although we have just had a report from Ian Guy that Chris Founds' engine is sounding a little bit off song, so keep an eye on 10th place, Chris Founds and Stuart Muldoon. Back to Webster, number 4 this year. Hasn't won a world championship for 2 years. That's not Webster style, and he'll be looking to make 2003 his 9th championship.
Yes, I thought last year he was going to come back with a bang, but he look at the wheel there going through the left-hander. Steve will have that machine in control, in full control of it, and he'll be putting young Mr. Woodhead under the pressure of trying to keep that wheel down.
Yes, well, the cynics among us would say that he did go with a bang last year. GSXR 1200 engine after GSXR 1200 engine. He blew them up for the first half of the year, and then he won most of the races for the second half of the year.
Yeah, decided to put a 1000cc GSXR Suzuki engine in. First time out, won. Second time out, won. Third time out, won. And he was very nearly four on the trot, but the race was stopped short.
There's Chris Fownes and Stuart Muldoon down the straight, and that's Brian Petter behind, about to be lapped by our leader. Here's Woody having a bit of a look around. He looks like he's on a bit of a holiday there. Floats over the curb, flame out of the exhaust. What a spectacular picture that is.
Yeah, that wheel must be a foot in the air, Robbie. You would think he wasn't in control, but the ex-world champion is in control, and he'll be enjoying every minute of this.
Yes, they've just lapped Brian Petter there. That's Rob Fisher's teammate in the M&M team. Very stylish outfit this year, and they're going to give the championship a nudge in years to come once they've gone through all the teething problems of coming to the World Championship.
Yeah, they've let the 12th down to about the 12th man now, so you can see Steve Webster still keeping the pressure on.
Stuart Muldoon there, you can just see in the foreground, having a look behind, seeing Webber coming at him. They were teammates last year. Oh, and Chris Fownes has pulled off. The engine is an issue. I'd say if Ian Guy recorded that the engine is off song. Oh, and now back at the front here, Jock Skeen and Bill Philp fighting. That is the fight for fourth place. Two new championship contenders, both wildcard entries last year, and they're fighting for fourth and fifth. Look at the depth in this field.
Yeah, Bill Philp and Jock Skeen. I think we're going to see these two together on several occasions this year, because very similar drivers, very similar machines.
Yes, well, Jock Skeen there with a crackling exhaust as he enters the corner. He's on a blocking line a lot of the places, and Bill Philp, he's a solo racer in the past. He's raced at the Isle of Man and places like that. He knows how to fight for these things.
Oh yeah, what he'll do now, I'm sure we'll see eventually a Bill Philp slipstreaming manoeuvre. This is generally the favourite way of taking advantage of the competitor in front.
Okay, well, Jock Skeen running the Suzuki engine. They say they've had no problems with it. He's running a dry sump as well for the oil containment, meant to keep the oil around the parts of the motor that need it the most more often. And Bill Philp there running the Yamaha engine, the Yamaha R1. Let's look down the straight. Here goes Skeen past Philp. He's pulled out a long way there. You'll see the passengers go out, and he's taken a very fine line, giving a lot of racing room. Very polite for the Scottish team.
Yeah, great overtaking manoeuvre there. Just quick look at the monitor, and there's Steve Webster, 13 seconds in front now. But if you look at the lap times, Klaffenbach now running a 1:43.5. Steve Abbott on a 1:42.3. So Abbott's now putting the pressure on with 4 laps to go.
Yes, Abbott has reduced that gap by 5 seconds in the last 4 laps. He definitely could be on it, Abbott. Last year he won here. Klaffenbach had horrible problems with suspension here last year. Webster did an engine here last year, so all excitement up the front there. Could Abbott come back and get Klaffenbach with 4 laps to go?
He's well known as the Derbyshire Fox for his late tactics in a race. It's amazing how he puts these quick laps in towards the end.
Well, he is very, very efficient on his tyres, especially the rear. So that's when the end of the race, that's where you need that rear tyre.
Yes, of course. You've got to, obviously in this sport, you've got to look after your tyres. And unfortunately, some of the times, some of the competitors think that they're flying along and doing no problem, but the problems are the tyres.
Yes, well, Steve Webster, actually, this is just in from Yokohama Tyres. Steve Webster is running a development front tyre. It's a 220 wide front tyre instead of the 210. So Yokohama have been running a few tests over the winter and have come up with this tyre. Webster says it's great.
Looking at the times again now, 3 seconds between Klaffenbach and Abbott. Again, a 1:43.3. Abbott putting in a 1:41.7.
Yes, Ian Guy, have you got Webster's team for us? What can they say? Just waiting for Ian Guy down there. We'll get back to him later. Looking at Webster putting Woodheads behind through the grass.
Yeah, I think Steve Webster's beginning to seriously enjoy it now. You can see Steve when he's 12 seconds, nearly 13 seconds in front. He can afford to do a little bit of showboating now.
Yes, I'm sure he's going to destroy what's left of that rear tyre in the last 3 or 4 laps. And yeah, let's check with Ian Guy now.
Yeah, Rob, I was with Chris and Steve Webster's dad, and they were fingers crossed, and everything looked to be going well, but they wouldn't speak to me because they remember last year on the last lap, Steve had a problem, so they're waiting until he gets across that checker before they start celebrating.
No problems, Ian. Thanks for that. Trying to find out some information. There's the mechanic, Chris, there, putting the board out as Webbo crosses the line. It really is a jazzy paint scheme on that Castrol machine.
Yeah, it's a sexy paint scheme is that one, and there you can see now Steve on a 143.1. He's taking it reasonably steady, I would say, for Steve Webster.
There's Houtsey going through with Ian on the side.
Rob, I've got to say now, looking at the chase that was involved with Klappenbach and Abbott, 1 second now between them.
Yes, you can see it on the track. There's Klappenbach and Partzer, and cutting in underneath him there was Steve Abbott. Steve Abbott trying out the LCR for the first time in many years.
Yes, this is lap 16 of 18.
Did you see the amount of rubber that Steve Abbott left on the entry to that turn? He is really fighting that machine and getting it to go pretty quick.
Yes, he's now got Klappenbach in his sights. This is a fight for second place on the rostrum between Klaus Klappenbach, and you see the move then from the rear end of Klappenbach's machine, and I would say that Klappenbach's also got a tyre problem.
Yes, Clappy's looking a bit out of shape there. I'm not sure that thing's tracking right, but we'll check there. Jamie Biggs with some style as a passenger too.
Yeah, I've got to say the body language of Klaus Klappenbach is not the Klaus Klappenbach that I know, and it looks like that Abbott now, in amongst the traffic, will make his move probably on the last lap.
Yes, well, they've got Houtsey between them there, Gerhard Hautzenberger there. And yeah, they've just balked Steve Abbott through the chicane. Duncan Hendry there as well, and Steve Abbott will not be liking that. He's got to go all the way around the outside of them into the last turn, so let's see where Abbott gets through this traffic.
Yeah, what you're seeing there is a ex-world champion, Klaus Klappenbach, using a lot of experience.
And Steve Abbott did it around the outside of 2 machines. That LCR chassis is working for him, I can tell you.
Yes, I think I do know that. I've spoken to Steve about that. And to get the thing out of a crate and to finish second or third, we don't know how he's going to finish yet, to finish second or third in the Sidecar Grand Prix.
Oh, Claffy's moved over on him, but I think Steve Abbott's just gone past for second place.
Yeah, well, the leader, Steve Webster, in full control of this race. But now we've got Klaus Klappenbach and Steve Abbott fighting for second place.
17 completed out of 18. This is going to be it for Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead, just holding things together. Maybe Ian Guy could talk to the team now, but we'll hear from him later. Steve Abbott in the second place and Klaus Klappenbach. There's the fight. Are they going to be first, second and third, or third and second?
Very difficult to say at this stage. But I think Steve Abbott will now be looking up the exhaust pipe of Klappenbach, ready to make one of his famous slipstreaming manoeuvres.
Rubber from Webster as he comes out of the right hand there. Woody holding on the back there. A bit of a wave to one of the cameramen out there. Woody's very happy with this so far, I can see.
Yeah, he's well in control there, Steve Webster. Like to see what's happening in second place.
Yes, we'll check on that in a sec, but Webbo's coming down the hill to complete the last corner here. Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead. We'll see Woody. There it is, the number 1 comes up as they go across the line for the checkered flag. Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead.
Looking at the chase to the line now, looking into the background there. I think Steve Abbott has got Klappenbach.
Yes, Steve Abbott has Klaus Klappenbach to the line.
Oh, that was a tremendous run to the line there, and Steve Abbott took second place from Klaus Klappenbach.
What a great couple of laps there. You were saying the wily Derbyshire Fox would do it with a couple of laps to go, and he did get Klaus Klappenbach.
Yes, with 4 laps he was putting the pressure on. I do think probably Claffey has a small problem, but through the race Abbott took little bits, until eventually there was 1 machine's length between them on the finishing line.
Well, I didn't expect that finish to the race. Webster and Woodhead very, very happy there, waving to everyone. What a relief this will be for Webster. Finally, the pressure's off. The first race is out of the way, and he has maximum points.
Yes, Matt, very important now for the ex-world champion, because I do know that he is chasing the title again this year, and I'm sure we're going to see many, many exciting races.
And Steve Abbott looks pretty happy there, generally quite a reserved guy, but he was waving around. There he is.
When you look at Steve Abbott, he's got a new engine in, he's got a new chassis. It's the first time he's been out in the machine, and he finishes second at the first Grand Prix. He's got to be very happy with that.
Yes, of course. Klaus Klaffenbach just put the bike in a crate for the winter and pulled it out again and rode it. Webster had this same configuration from Brands Hatch last year, so yes, Abbott definitely doing well. But also fourth place, Jock Skeen and Neil Miller. They have new everything. Rocher came back for fifth with Adolf Harney. Harney will be very happy after a bit of confusion with teams only a month ago. Bill Philp in sixth place. Yeah, of course. But the surprise here is Dan Morrissey, seventh place. What happened in the last couple of laps? Dan Morrissey, a very quick machine with Darren Harper as the passenger, but getting up to seventh in front of Doppler, last year's German champion, and Hendry, last year's Euro champion. He's in some good company there.
Yeah, great ride from Dan. Dan struggled all last season, and you'd see Dan in 18th, 19th place. But obviously got his act together this year. I didn't actually see Dan much during the race, but finishing seventh in his first Grand Prix of the season, tremendous ride.
Ian, have you got Mick Webster down there? What can Mick tell us?
No, sorry, Rob. Mick's wandered off to see Steve on the podium, but I'm here with John Morrissey, Dan Morrissey's father. Great ride from Dan there.
Absolutely delighted. He's put a lot of effort in over the winter with his fitness and the preparation of the bike, and I think today he's come of age. He's now a top 10 runner.
Good. We want to see him up there more often. Thanks, John.
Yes, John, there you can hear the emotion in his voice. Dan Morrissey, he showed a lot of potential a couple of years ago, and now it's all coming true for him, I think. Fantastic paint job. He and Darren are looking as fit as ever, and I think that's a well-deserved seventh place for Morrissey.
Yeah, his father there, very, very happy. They put a lot of effort into the racing, and this is by far his best result.
Running down the field there, Hautzenberger 10th, Pedder in 11th, and Andy Peach finished the race. He'll be over the moon with that. The French team, Menge in 13th, and Barry Fleury finishes in 14th place. That's the first time in 5 years that the Fleuries have finished in Spain. Jane was saying to me before, they've had different problems every time. No big crashes, but yeah, they're very happy to finish 14th. And there he is, Steve Webster.
Looks very happy, bound to be very happy. Yes, Steve Webster, first win of the season, and he's going to be, again, one of the front runners, the man to go for, the man to aim at, Steve Webster.
And this is what sidecar racing's all about there. There's three different team mechanics congratulating Paul Woodhead before he can get to the podium. That's the community of sidecars.
Yeah, serious community, and yes, everybody looks after everybody else. If there's an engine to be borrowed, they'll lend it you. The sidecar fraternity are well known for the friendship.
So Webster and Woodhead on the Suzuki, followed by two Yamahas. In fact, I think we have a minor error there. Abbott and Biggs with a Suzuki. That's a GSXR 1000 there. Klaffenbach and Partzer on the Yamaha. Skeen and Miller on the new Suzuki. Rocher on the new Suzuki as well. In fact, that one prepared by Steve Webster. And then Philp and Yendel.
Dan Morrissey in 7th place. That's fantastic for Dan, with Doppler 8th, Stuart Hendry 9th, Hausenberger 10th, Pedder, and then in 12th place, the new driver, Peach.
Yes, well, before we get on to Peachy there, Brian Pedder, that's a great result for him to finish 11th. Well, at least one of the two M&M Motorsport machines finished. Unfortunately, Rob Fisher having a mechanical problem there. And yes, the French team, as I said, Menge, he's very, very excited to be here. He did a couple of races last year, and with a bit of time, I think he's going to be right up there.
There you've got it now, the Steve Webster on 25 points, maximum points in the first round, with Klaus Klaffenbach on 20 points, Steve Abbott on 16. I think there's a little misunderstanding there. It should be Abbott on 20 points, with Klaus Klaffenbach on 16 points. Jock Skeen, Rocher, Philp, Morrissey in 7th. Fantastic to be standing 7th in the World Championship.
Yes, well, that's great, isn't it? We've got all these new teams, new blood in sidecar racing, and yeah, Jock Skeen, permanent team, Bill Philp up there, Morrissey finally coming to the fore and showing that potential. Yes, third place there, Klaus Klaffenbach and Christian Partzer. Look at Christian, he's enjoyed himself, and also Claffy. He seems shy, but he's probably standing up there thinking what he's going to do with his Supersport team tomorrow, doing some more business.
Yes, he's got a super sports team, 2 riders tomorrow, and there, the World Championship leader at the moment, Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead.
Yeah, Woody obviously very, very happy there. Just on the left there, Abbott and Biggs just having a bit of a chat about things. They'll just be relieved that things have gone well, as with most teams. So Klaus Klaffenbach and Christian Partzer with the flowers. I wonder how Klaus will go this year. He was world champion, then that controversial move to the Yamaha last year in preparation for this year. And yes, other things on his mind at the moment, but a podium to go with it.
Yeah, podium to start the season with. There's got to be one of the more perfect moves, and yeah, there are lots of things to do this season to get the machines up to full running speed. But 2 of the 3 teams there have never been on the bike before, so a great achievement. I think just to finish at this stage of the game is a great achievement.
Yes, of course, the next track that we're going to find, Monza, is going to severely test these engines. A very powerful engine required for 290 kilometres there, but there it is, the crowd applauding the Brits. What a great race, gone straight from the plan for Webster. He'll be hoping that he can have 8 more races like that this year.
It wouldn't surprise me.
So big bunches of flowers, I'm sure they'll be used later on tonight with a bit of champagne to go with them, a couple of photos, and it's going to be a good time for all of the riders to get together tonight and have a chat about how good everything's going to be.
Maybe us poor commentators will get a wee glass of champagne later on, if we're lucky, that is.
And there's the manufacturer's trophy there. Mick Webster looking a little bit younger than he usually does, but yes, I'm sure he's quite happy to take them.
Full of spring at the moment is Mick. Son just won his first Grand Prix this season.
Well, Steve Webster would have heard that a little bit, and of course the cameraman runs for it and they all spray the champagne. I'm sure that was lined up. Mick with a fair string in his step there to get off the podium quickly, but everyone's all smiles now. The first race is over, all the stress of all the preparation, and they'll be taking those jazzy bunches of flowers back to the awnings later on, and just thinking about the time they've got before Monza.
Lots of effort going to be put into Monza now. They've had a taste of the first Grand Prix, and yes, Monza will be the next most important target for these teams.
Yes, a bit of calm comes over Valencia after that race. Who would have thought that Abbott would come back in such a way? Apart from you, of course, Norman.
Yes, I knew the wily Derbyshire Fox was probably sitting there for a while. I've yet to find out whether Klaus Kloffenbach did have a problem. If he didn't have a problem, fair play to Abbott, he drove exceedingly well there. But I just feel that the knock probably did something to the machine from Tom Hanks, and it's caused a small problem for Klaus Klaffenbach.
Yes, well, we're going to be seeing a lot more of Tom Hanks, I think, this year. And also, Rob Fisher, he had a problem as well. I'm sure he'll be back in the top 10 real soon.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is going to be one of the stars of the season.
A little kiss from Woody. There's Jamie Biggs. Look at all the teams, the smiling faces. Just before we go to the race, there's Yoda Yendel. The race went off to a fairly sedate start. Great stuff that we didn't see an accident like we had 2 years ago with Chris Founds. Chris got through turn 2 all right this year. Webster took it away. Bit of flame out there. Watch for Tom Hanks' sidecar wheel here, and there goes a camera.
Yeah, that'll cost them a few bob for the camera. Yes, it was the back end that actually caught the camera.
Yes, and here it is, the big crash from Tom Hanks. Just overcooking it a bit. Maybe Claffy just braked a little bit early, but look at the dejection from Phil.
Did well to hold the machine upright.
Very difficult when these things get out of control. Skeen and Philp down the straight. Skeen just going past. We'll have to find out if that is the Suzuki horsepower over Yamaha or whether Philp had a bit of an issue. But Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead take the win. Congratulations all round from Jukesy there and John. And then, of course, look at that rush off the podium. Excellent stuff. They're getting pretty good at that. Webbo's got a fairly good aim by now. And so let's go down to the interviews.
Third place here in Valencia, Klaus Klaffenbach and Christian Parzer. Klaus, you had a good start to the race, but then you seemed to run into problems.
No, we hadn't really a problem, not the technical problem. My physical wasn't very good this weekend, so I know now that I have to do much more in the 2 months to the next race, and then I come back very strong.
So has the Supersport team been taking too much of your time?
Yes, and some other problems what we had in the winter.
But you'll be back for Monza.
I'm back in Monza, and what I said, very strong.
And just a quick word, Christian, because I know you don't like talking to me in English. Did Tom Hanks hit your leg?
Oh, ich vermute, der Tom Hanks hat Bremsprobleme gehabt. Unser Rennen war gut bis zur letzten Kurve. Da haben wir es dann leider verloren gegen Abbott, aber ich glaube, wir werden uns revanchieren in Monza.
Thank you. Christian Parzer, Klaus Klaffenbach. Second place, Steve Abbott and Jamie Biggs. Steve, you must have been a bit surprised to get up to second place after that start.
Yeah, usual start, eh? First time we've ridden the bike, so I'm very happy with that. I thought it'd wear me out more than that because we've had problems mainly with the bodywork, and we'll have to do some work on that. So we'll be back again for Monza, and hopefully looking at trying to win the race there.
And Jamie, what's the difference between the LCR and the Windle that you rode to the World Championship last year?
To be honest, there doesn't seem to be that much difference. I think the biggest difference we've got now is a better engine, and the bike seems to be a lot more powerful. And hopefully, when we do both get used to the handling of it a bit better, it should be a lot easier to ride.
So overall, with the problems, a good day at the office.
Yeah, very good indeed. Yeah.
Well done, lads.
Thank you.
And our winners here in Valencia at the opening round, Steve Webster, MBE, and Paul Woodhead. Steve, pole position, start to flag victory. What else could you have done?
Yeah, all went to plan really. We came here with a plan to fire a warning shot really. You know, we made business this year. The bike hopefully was set up now. Got a good engine, got good backing, and hopefully we can get the championship back this year.
So this is a warning to the others to go and get fit. As Christian Klaus said, he wasn't fit enough, and Steve needs to get his bike sorted out before they can even get anywhere near you.
Yeah, we knew that there's a few things like Steve's swap bikes, and it's going to take him a while to get used to that. So really, this is where we've got to capitalise on this now. Next few races, try and get the best results we possibly can, and keep pushing hard because they're going to play catch up pretty quick.
And Paul, it looked like quite an easy ride for you out there. Was that the case?
Yeah, it was pretty much. I mean, the race went to race plan. We said we were going to try and get in the lead, 4 or 5 laps, settle down, and then 4 or 5 hard ones, get a bit of a gap, and settle down. And that's exactly as it went. And towards the end, I think the last 4 or 5 laps, something like that, Steve backed off a little bit, and yeah, all day.
So any major changes now before Monza, or are you happy with the setup?
No, I've just got my soap to wash, and that's about it.
Well done.
So there we have it, back from the interviews. Ian Guy with some great questions there. What Christian said there was a braking problem with Hanks, and he didn't hit his leg, so that's just for our non-Austrian viewers out there. Webster taking the win, 25 points. Abbott second, Clattenbocken third. That's going to be a tight championship. We got the new guys, Skeen and Rocha. Next race is Monza, 16, 17 and 18 of May. It's going to be an exciting race there. The guys will do some testing. We'll see you there.